Hey, right now on the flip side,
2 things you need to know about your family of origin.
And I talk about the online test that changed my marriage.
and from our brand new studios here in the Bayside Cafe, I'm going to tell you about the one thing that might destroy your marriage. And we're going to do it right now on the flip side.
Let's do it.
Hey, welcome to episode 72 of The Flip Side. We're on week 2 of What Happy Families Know, and I have 2 first-timers on The Flip Side.
Yeah. Right.
What in the world is wrong with me that I've not had either of you guys on The Flip Side before? Haley, you didn't get another host. I'm such a loser. Yeah. So first of all, we got Scott from our Blue Oaks campus, Scott Johnston, here. And Scott, you're on this show because you're an incredible communicator, great leader, and when we're talking about families, you're about to go through it.
Yep. My wife and I are literally about to have our first sometime in the next 30 days.
So you're going to talk to us about how to have a happy family.
Yeah.
Then you're going to have a baby and discover what you didn't know.
Yeah, exactly.
So true.
So on behalf of The Flip Side,
Yeah.
we've gotten you a baby gift.
No, you did not.
Of course we
What?
did. This is The Flip Side.
Oh my
people.
gosh.
Hey, by the way, let's get some coffee in here while we're opening this gift. We need some gift opening
It's
coffee.
just diapers.
Oh, it's not just diapers? Not just diapers,
Yes.
honest
Wait, what else we
diapers. Eco-friendly diapers.
Ooh.
We actually need one of these. This is awesome. This is actually, yeah, we did. We don't have one of these yet.
What is that, like a rear
This is
view
one
mirror?
of those like the nice rear view mirrors.
One more thing in the back.
And there's one more thing? Oh my gosh.
Diapers.
You guys, you did not have to do this. And, oh yes, wet wipes.
Wet wipes.
These are probably, all 3 of these are going to be in my baby backpack.
Yeah.
Yes.
The next, probably 3 years of my life is probably what's going to
Hopefully
happen.
the mirror's
yes.
in your car.
Yeah,
So
what's going to be in the car?
give us the real due date here again.
February 29th.
Oh,
so
wow.
leap day, which is
Where?
really exciting because I get to be like, hey, when, if she's actually born on leap day, then I get to be like, hey, she comes to me and she goes, hey, I really want to date. And I go, honey, you can't date anyone. You're only 4 years old. Just every
Right.
4 years. It would be great.
No, it is great. My brother actually has his birthday on Leap Day, so he's my older brother by 5 years. We're celebrating, I think, his 15th birthday. Coming up, his 15th.
Amazing.
Real, actually.
What a youngin'.
So, congratulations. We're happy
you.
for you. Okay, so we also have, you notice Serena didn't pour any coffee.
No coffee.
Mm-hmm.
We have Wesley, our new senior campus pastor at our Davis campus.
Yeah.
Wesley, how long have you been part of Bayside?
6 weeks.
It just seems
That's
long.
why I haven't been on the show. 6 weeks.
You have fit in so well. I just feel like you've been here for a couple of years already and really enjoy you as a teammate. Super knowledgeable guy. One of the things we're working on right now is the series in the fall leading up to the Apologetics Conference. That's a passion of yours.
Yes.
And just give us the first time on the flip side. Give us a little bio here, Wesley.
Yeah, quick bio. My name is Wesley Towne. I've been married for 17 years to Kara and planted a church in Eugene, Oregon that we started in our living room with 5 people, just teaching through the Gospel of John. And within 90 days, I had 90 students packing out our living room. And the church ended up being an amazing experience and opportunity to really influence thousands of people in a college town. Then we've walked through some really hard things with my wife's health, which led us to leave the church that we planted in Eugene. And the last year and a half, I've been teaching and speaking on mental health and suffering in churches and conferences and podcasting and all of that.
And doing a phenomenal job of both with your experience with the health issues in your family and just your expertise. So families go through mental health crisis. Families go through severe injury and disease and grief. And what happy families know, I've been saying about this whole series, is sometimes families are very not happy. So, and that note, let's get right into it. The message this weekend is one of my favorites. I've been doing pre-engagement counseling, engagement counseling, and some marriage counseling for 30 years, and I always camp on 3 things, and it's the very 3 things that were in our sermon this year, which is compatibility, why you're different than your spouse and why you can't be annoyed by that. You got to value the difference. And then communication. How do you talk, especially about hard things? And then the one I want to start off with today is expectations. So Scott, I don't know if you remember.
I remember this.
So Kayla and Scott had a few meetings with us when they were preparing for marriage. And we took them through some exercises on expectations and clarifying your family of origin expectation. Yeah. And I'll tell you what the exercise is. You can do this at home later. But to help explain the exercises, I said, I want both of you to imagine the most frequent meal you ate as a child. And apart, you get it in your head. And then on the count of 3, I want you to say it together. And Scott, do you remember what you said?
I think I said cheeseburgers.
Yeah, I think you said quarter pounder.
Yeah, something similar to that.
Quarter pounder from McDonald's. And Kayla said broccoli and chicken. Yeah. And I was like, okay, first point of discussion.
Yes.
Yep. This is going to be different expectations
Totally.
colliding together in a beautiful introduction of fast food on one hand and health and vegetables on the other.
Yeah.
So how has that worked out for you guys?
It's been real. Well, it's actually been great. I feel like we get to catch up on this because you get to see the results years later.
Yeah.
Actually, last night, instead of going out to eat, I actually made dinner at home.
Okay, what did you make?
And so I made almost chicken and broccolis, actually.
That's awesome.
And so I grilled up some chicken and, green beans and rice and some red potatoes and cut it up. Actually, because I grew up in a family that we went out all the time. We ate out a lot, and not because my mom couldn't cook. She's a great cook. But because we just didn't have time to
Speed
cook
of
at
Bayside.
home. Yeah, Speed of Bayside. And so we just didn't cook a lot. And then after marrying Kayla, she wanted to eat at home more. And so I actually discovered that I actually love to cook. Yeah. And I did not know that about myself until actually getting into marriage. And so suddenly what we actually thought would be actually a point of contention from our family of origins actually became I discovered something new about myself that I didn't even know.
That's the principle of valuing the difference. Yeah. So you can either be annoyed by the difference, that's not what I used to, that's not what I expect, that's not what I like, or you can go, this is a wonderful new thing that enriches me and values me and adds to my life, and it's the whole reason I was attracted to you, because I saw different things in you that I knew I needed in me.
Yeah.
Value the difference. So
that's awesome.
So Wesley, tell me about that for you. When you guys first got married, was there any expectation collisions?
Yeah, I mean, I have a food story too. So I grew up eating meat and potatoes, iceberg lettuce. That was about the depth of the health.
Your basic Midwest meal.
Yeah, right. And so we got married. My wife grew up in a home that they cooked every vegetable, plant-based. So we were married about a month or two, and she brought home these leaves, huge leaves, and I thought they were decorative leaves,
Right.
But I realized, no, we're going to eat these. They're chard and kale and collard greens. I'd never seen anything like it in my life. And she's like, we're going to start eating plant-based. I'm like, okay. And then she said, we're going to not eat cheese anymore. I was like, okay. No more chicken anymore. Okay, great. So I dove in, was a good sport, and I've been vegan, plant-based for 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
long time.
Yeah. Yeah,
so it was embracing a different
totally,
food
100%.
culture.
Yeah. So, here's my food story of expectations of marriage, and it's slightly different than both the menu item or a complete shift in diet. My wife is the 7th of 7 girls. I am the 5th of 7 in my family. So we both come from big families. But I'm the first man my wife ever lived with at all, ever. So the dad was never in the home. No dad was ever in the home. It was 8 women in the home. Oh my God. And so my whole first year of marriage, here's how most meals would go. Yes, this is how much we eat. This is how much. You have to make more than that.
Portion.
Or I would cook,
Portion
and she'd be like,
sizes
why
are
did you make
important.
all of that? Because I would like to eat.
All of it.
And then here's the other one. So 4 brothers and 2 sisters that were very, very tough individuals. And there was no gender roles in my family. Everyone did all the same chores. And so everyone was athletic and competitive, and it was that sort of family. And so my wife kept going, why are you eating so fast? And I was like, I'm not eating fast. This is what we should be done in about 7 minutes. And then I had to realize, I'm eating this fast because I don't want Carrie, Chris, and Craig to get my food. And I was saying to her, this is the amount of food that's right. She had to say to me, No one's here. Look, it's us two. You can breathe and we can talk, and would you chew and look at me? And of course, all of that was annoying at first, uncomfortable second, wonderful third. To the point now where you ask my kids, my favorite thing to do is to have a slow, multi-course meal where we're all talking and laughing and telling the same stories that we always tell and adding a few new stories. So just give me some advice, you guys. You're both incredible pastors in your own right. You both counsel a lot of couples in every stage of marriage, but especially building a great marriage in terms of communication, expectation, compatibility, anything we said this weekend. Give me some of your fundamental advice.
Well, I know, like, for me personally, one of the things that we did early on in Kay and I's marriage, even really in our dating life, was we actually both, you guys know Dr. Chapman and the love language assessments and stuff like that. If you don't know, there's an assessment online. But we took this because we realized we actually receive encouragement very differently. So like for me, I'm my highest priority, like the way I receive the most encouragement is words of affirmation. I need to hear somebody come and say to me like, hey, I love you, or hey, like you did a great job with this, or that kind of, like, I love words of affirmation. That's how I get my encouragement. Some of you watching probably are the same way. Whereas my wife is acts of service. Now I give words of encouragement all the time. Words of affirmation, I'm always doing that because that's how I receive it. But my wife is sitting here going, like, I don't feel loved by you. And I'm going, why not? I'm still saying all those things, but it wasn't until we actually did this and actually started realizing, I receive encouragement differently than you do. And so once I started realizing that, I just ask her every day, hey, is there anything that you need me to do today?
Yeah, say the assessment. Where can they find the assessment?
You can go online. If you search Love Language Assessment and Dr. Chapman, you can find the link to it. Is there going to be a link in the description?
We'll put a link in the show notes.
Okay, perfect.
Great.
And so I encourage you to take the assessment. It's a great one, and it really helped us.
We love others the way we like to be loved.
Yes.
We manage others in the workplace the way we like to be managed, by the way, is also true. So very similar. I am words of encouragement. So in my family, not a lot of affection, not a lot of encouragement. My dad had a favorite thing of saying, if you made a play in a game, he said, well, you just made an easy play look hard. that was his coaching. So you catch an incredible ball. You just made an easy play look hard. Okay, thank you. And so I just crave that. I love the encouraging thing. I'm super encouraging. Maddie's that way too. She's just always encouraging. My wife grew up in a home where the dad would promise a ton and never deliver. So every word of encouragement to my wife sounds like a chance to be disappointed.
Unmet promise.
An unmet promise.
Yeah.
So you're you're just saying that. You're just setting me up. There'll be no bicycle at Christmas. And so we take the test. We're way into marriage by the time we take the test.
Yeah.
And it's works of service. All of a sudden, I have this epiphany. If you know my wife, right now she is making free stuff for 3 weddings. Right now she is out of state ministering to someone going through it. She's just a servant. And I had this epiphany. She wants me to unload the dishwasher. Not say I'm going to do it, not point to the fact that I did it.
Do it.
She wants me to walk in the kitchen and unload the dishwasher. And I can remember the first day I'm going to try this. And she was like, you're the best husband ever. And I love you. So we have a great relationship, don't we? And I just really love you. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could be a manipulator with this.
If you're a husband and you're watching this, pause, go unload the dishwasher, and watch the rest of this episode.
Now, I'll tell you the other secret behind this thing is so my second one, of course, is, what's the affection one?
Physical touch.
She's like, what man doesn't have physical touch on his list? She's a little skeptical of that one.
That's true.
She's like, you mean them all? Oh, physical touch is my number one. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, it's funny.
I think in relationships and like when you're engaged or you're newly married, something that I've learned is expectations are really a fragile reality in a relationship because I think especially for me, I came from a non-Christian home, got saved radically, Jesus transformed my life. And I'm really observant, so I'm starting to observe relationships and watch marriages, and I thought everything that every godly couple should do, I should do. And then I should have that expectation on my wife.
Right.
And then you realize that expectations and ideals can be suffocating to a relationship. So I think it's really important, like for me, the less expectations I have on my wife, the more free I feel to love and also to have gratitude. And I think just coming out of like my story and my background, not Jesus follower, learning everything, trying to insert all of those ideals onto our relationship, I think it was a huge learning curve for me, but life-changing to realize the less expectations I have in life, the more grateful I am, the freer I am in my relationships, the less suffocating I am to other people. I just feel like that's a healthy thing. And I think,
how do you get there? How do you lower your expectations in a healthy way, in a free way, not in a I'm giving up my dream because you made me give it up. But how do you lower them in a healthy, God-honoring way?
Yeah, I think you have to transition your thinking in a relationship. I think we're so... we've been cultivating a culture that is consumer based.
Right.
So we have these expectations on somebody else that, you need to meet all of these needs and be this person.
This is a contractual agreement.
Exactly.
I've given you this. Why aren't I getting this back?
Yes. So you're here for me, right?
Not only destroys marriages, it destroys a parenting relationship.
Yeah.
And roommates, it could destroy a roommate relationship. Then instead of it going, this is based on edification, my job of edifying you and loving you and serving you, it's an exchange.
Exactly. So in the American culture, we're consumers in our relationships. It's all about what you're going to provide for me rather than what I can do to benefit you, which is the basis of the idea of love in the New Testament and the Old Testament. It's how can I look out for your greatest good, and how can I help you to become who God wants you to be?
It's the whole principle of mutual submission. I do so much better when I'm not worried about how I'm doing. I'm more worried about you doing. Okay, so on terms of expectation, here's the exercise I do with couples. Because I think marriage is a series of compromising your expectations. But most couples don't even take the first step of acknowledging what expectations they have and articulating them to themselves. And people are different in this way. Some people, their expectations are really buried and underneath, and they don't know what they are. They're just bubbling underneath in them. And then other people, it's like a movie was shown to them in their mother's womb of what their life would look like. And they have this, and I don't know which one's worse to deal with. I think both have their problems, but I say as a couple, or even as roommates, as a family, you can do this. Sit down by yourself and go with your gut. Write down your top 20 expectations of your life 5 years from now. Don't judge them. Don't edit them. Don't say that's not big enough. Just what comes to mind. Will you have a dog? Who does the dishes? How much sex is in your life? How often are you going to church? What is happening with your kids? Like you said, are you praying together every day as a couple? Are you doing these intense couples Bible studies? Are you going on spiritual retreats? What is it you expect? What is it you think about? And then after you list your 20, and don't edit, be as free form as you can, go back and think, how important is that to me right now? And give it a number 1 to 10. 1 being, I expect it, but if it didn't happen, I wouldn't be disappointed and I'd forget it pretty quickly. 10 being, I don't know, this will be very hard for me to give to the Lord. This would be very hard if this did not happen. Like oftentimes what will make people's list on the 10 is fidelity. I expect you to be faithful to me.
It's a healthy expectation.
Yes, it's a really healthy expectation, and it's a 10 to me. I had a friend, she came from a large Italian family, wonderful friend, funniest person, just a wonderful friend to have in your friend group. And she always just had this idea. She had 7 siblings. They all played accordion. The dad was a musician, music teacher, and they went to weddings, and they had the blast as a family being this large Italian accordion family. And she always had this dream that she'd have a lot of kids and teach them accordion and et cetera. Well, she married this guy who was intellectual, incredible guy, very smart, not as fun, very, very smart. And then in the first year of marriage, she said, all right, I'm ready to start having kids. He said, oh, no, we're not having kids. There'll be no children. They're messy. They're sticky. They'll interrupt my studies. A massive expectation conflict. So I go, think about that stuff. Put that all down there and then rank it. Then come together and say, as a couple, how can I serve your expectations? And how can you serve mine? And which one of these do we have to compromise and have a conversation about? And if you can actually trade lists, and I go, my job has now become to help you get all those 5, 6, 7, 8, 9s, and 10s. I'm going after those things.
Yeah.
And if I can't get them for you, I'm committed to working it out with you why I can't get those for you. And then if you go, I've got someone who's got my list. They love my list.
Yeah.
Their calling is my list. That's a different feeling than, hey, I got to remind you about my list now because you've forgotten my list for a minute. And
That's really good.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
so,
And I love it because it's
and by the way, I probably plagiarized that from someone.
Somebody said it before you.
Disclaimer.
it'll be in the notes.
I don't know. I've done it so much now. It
That's
feels
so
like it's
good.
mine.
Well, I love that. And I love that you are talking about that because it reminds me. When I was in Davis this last weekend, we touched on this briefly. But
By the way,
James,
you crushed it.
Oh, thanks.
You did so good.
But like in James, where James goes, hey, where do fights and quarrels come
Yes,
from?
love it.
Where do all of our fights and quarrels come from? They come from the desires within us.
Yes.
And when you
Which is a great biblical language for saying we're all filled with fear and insecurity.
Right, and if you don't talk about those, and if you aren't, I think the first step really is just being open and honest in that communication before the storm hits, not after.
So we were having our sermon prep meeting today. You guys were in on it. And I have the 4 B's of expectations, and I deliberately did not share them in sermon prep because I didn't want anyone to use them on any campus this weekend. It's exclusive content for the flip side right here. But here's what I tell couples. In terms of those fears and anxieties inside of us, that the battles within, they will all happen in one of 4 areas. Okay? The bedroom, that's intimacy. The bathroom, that's domestic life. How do we live together? Who does the dishes? Who changes the oil? Who takes the dog out? And who wipes?
Yep.
And it's usually a girl saying to her new husband, "Why are you peeing on this toilet?" It's the bedroom. It's the bathroom. It's the bank account. How are we budgeting? When do I get to spend money without consulting you? At what level do we consult each other? What is our financial goals together? What's our financial plan? There's usually a saver and a spender in every relationship. There is a person that has an instinct of generosity and an instinct of stewardship. Sometimes those roles switch in seasons, but those are generalities true. And then here's the last one. So it's bedroom, bathroom, bank account, babies. And whether you have babies or have decided to not have babies or deciding to wait to have babies, or you're on your 3rd baby under 5 years old, how you parent, what you think about, what's the appropriate size for a family. If you're having a fight, you got to go underneath what we're arguing about. Is this a bedroom, bathroom, bank account, or babies fight?
Yeah.
And what are my expectations that I'm bringing from my experiences in my family of origin into that issue that I have to compromise, and I have to be about fighting for your side of it and you fighting for my side of it. So there's the 4 B's you won't get by listening to any of the sermons this weekend.
Except maybe mine.
Okay.
Maybe I'm gonna.
No. Trade secrets about when this is being recorded.
I might steal that.
No. The weekend's already happened, Wesley. According
I think you mentioned a few times family of origin, and I think there's such a good evaluation process when you begin a relationship. And I think people that are dating seriously should process some of this stuff, but especially in the engagement relationship, because the family of origin interactions and cultivation has a profound effect on our lives, on our soul. It's woven into the fabric of our being. And so I think a lot of time we enter into a relationship, we realize that relationship's like a mirror, but we don't really want to see who we are. So much of that mirror is embedded in our family of origin.
Totally.
And what we need to do a good job of is helping people to evaluate their family of origin Some of that needs to be deconstruction, right? Like, okay, here's some unhealthy interactions and patterns and things that I was exposed to. And then some of it needs to be validation. Like, these are really good things that I've learned. That's very good. And good things that I can bring into my
and
relationship.
Validation.
Yeah.
And by the way, people usually make the mistake of only doing one of those. You know, our family's perfect, it's all perfect, everyone's happy, validation. Or, man, it was so horrible, it was so hard, nothing good ever happened to me. And what a healthy, good balance that is there. Yeah. I tell people all the time, I said, listen, your family of origin, it's in you whether you admit it or not. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of people grow up and they go, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And not realizing that just saying that doesn't prevent the pattern from replicating. I literally remember the day I'm cleaning my apartment. I had 2 roommates that were total slobs, and my mom was an absolute clean freak, workaholic. I mean, Saturdays around my house were just a scrub everything down. And I'm sitting there scrubbing the counter, and I'm going, you know, if a job's worth being done, it's worth doing, right? And it was exactly a phrase my mom. I came out of me like my mother, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's in me.
She's in us.
So it's just a matter of not having it be a villain and not having it be a hero. But you know, the Bible says, think of yourself with sober judgment. Have that. It's not high self-esteem. It's not low self-esteem. It's honest esteem. It's objective esteem. It's undramatic, sober thinking. We're gonna make it. It's okay. Some was good. Some was bad. Let's do what we got to do. Haley's given me the sign. I know you guys have more good content. So instead of pretending I have the right question to get it out of you, what else do you want to say on happy families on this week that's particularly about building those marriage relationships or maybe even exploring a marriage relationship?
Yeah, I would tell singles, give your attention to becoming the right person rather than looking for the right person.
Yes.
Right? Like, invest in that, because when you meet that right person, you want to be in process of becoming the person that's going to compliment them, serve them, love them in a healthy way.
Here's how my wife says that. You have a list. Would you make your list?
That's good.
Would you make your list?
That's really good.
Yep.
So
that's awesome. I think for me, it's, and this is something that Kay and I always say to each other. We actually have a phrase. It's that, you know, I'll call her my silver medal, which sounds horrible. So don't leave. No, it sounds like makes me look like an idiot. But it's because in this context, and that is that Jesus has to have my gold medal. My relationship, all my relationships.
You did.
Yeah, Curt was a little. He's like, hey, we are never having him back.
A little skeptical.
But I mean, early on, like, we can give out all the relationship. We can have all the tricks and all the relationship advice and all the stuff that, you know, and all of it's really, really good. Nothing is going to trump building your relationship with Jesus.
Right.
If you have a solid, spiritually and emotionally healthy relationship with Christ, all your relationships are going to benefit from it. And so, like, for us, that had to be the center automatically, because as soon as we start building our relationship with Christ, that opens it up to go, okay, now we have this foundation. What else can we work on? And so that was, you know, that for me has been just the number one.
The destroyer of marriages. And this takes a lot of different forms, but if you get underneath it, and this is the destroyer of businesses, and the destroyer of churches, and the destroyer of careers and fortunes, is ego. It's ego. It's my insecurity driving my personality preferences. And the only way to deal with ego, I can't get your ego to change, you can't get mine. The only way is to experience the grace of God, to get the love, acceptance, and forgiveness of God. So God softens my heart. The natural impact of that is my heart is softened towards all of the other people. And if that doesn't happen, then you're just constantly taking offense. If your ego is leading, you're constantly taking offense. And you'll be miserable. So here's one tip. That was such a great thought, I had to sermonize on your thought.
I have a thought based on your thought.
Okay, go.
Okay, so, you know, what you just said about ego and... you know, just fighting that, like, defensiveness in marriage. I feel like instead of being defensive, like, when I was early married years, I was defensive, right? Like, no, don't say that to me. That's not me. Like,
me too.
I wouldn't see the mirror. But instead of having, like, a stance of defense, have a stance just to embrace growth and change. And the more that I've done that, even like this week, Kara was like, hey, I need you to work on this. I was like, okay, great, I'll work on that. It feels so good because I'm in process, right? Like,
Right.
you know, it doesn't matter if you're a spiritual leader or not. Like, we're all on the same boat in process. Like, embracing change and growth is so healthy.
Yeah. What happened to me is I got too tired to fight all that stuff.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. And so then that was the first stage, was not any God honoring thing. I was like, I'm tired of having all these little battles over these preferences. I'm going to give you your preference just because I don't want to have the battle. That was fun and awesome, and I learned something, and you were right.
Which is free.
Which is free. And
yes.
awesome. I tell people all the time, get to the stage where you're tired of fighting really quickly, because then it's wonderful and it's meaningful. Here's my one little advice, and this works for all couples, but this is especially for anyone that's in courtship. History sharing.
Yeah.
So you're talking about understanding your family of origin. How does that happen? We tell the story. So I tell couples all the time, don't do couple activities that prevent history sharing. Netflix and movies and even some bigger group dating environments. Put yourself in situations of 4, 5, 6 people and talk about what it was like to grow up as you. Talk about your parents. Talk about your blended family. Talk about your middle school experience. Talk about all the stuff you're afraid to talk about. If you're serious, that stuff's going to come out. And it's wonderful what happens when you share history. When you share history, you get to a place I call objectivity. And what is objectivity? It's when I go, man, here's what's awesome about Wesley. He's got this strength, and this strength. And here's what's challenging about Wesley. He's got this challenge and this challenge. And you equally go, here's what's awesome about working with Curt, this strength and this strength. He talks too much. His jokes sometimes, they're not as funny as he thinks, you know. And it's only when we get to that place of objectivity that we can weigh the real worth of a relationship. You know, for my wife, it really came down to this. He makes me laugh. He never shuts up.
That's good.
And the, you know, that whole thing of like considering the cost and entering into the commitment, it's made so much better when I don't have that hyper romantic view, or I don't have that I've got to get married, everyone's getting married, or I just have that. That's Curt. That's in his flaws and his gifts. That's who he is. So I just tell you, it's a simple practice.
And that's super healthy to do, and it's also really wise and healthy to do that in a very slow, like for most people, in a very slow way. I know with Kay and I, we early on, she was ready to share like entire history, like in month 1, and I'm like, wait, we need to slow it down, because it's not, you know, a lot of the Christian world goes, hey, you need to set physical boundaries. Not a lot of people talk about emotional boundaries, because the more emotionally vulnerable you are with somebody, the more physical intimacy you will want to match that. And so those tend to fluctuate with each other. And so it's really important to go, let's take it slow and let's be and get to objectivity. And so I love that.
And okay, we got to wind it up. They're getting it. You know, that's what I find. So I'm sharing history. Now we're doing it reverse with my kids. We're telling our kids about our family of origin and all that stuff. So much to do here. We didn't get to all the content. There's so much content left on this, and that's why you need to keep tuning in. We got 3 more weeks of this What Happy Family Knows series. And just like we did today, we're going to be super practical, very conversational, but you're going to find a couple websites, a couple exercises, a couple suggestions every time you tune in. And you also know who else needs to tune in. So I'm going to ask you to right now, before you forget about it, share this. Go ahead and just share it. Just forward it to 1 or 2 other of your friends. Like it, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and help spread the word. Because our goal here is to make sure that we're applying the Bible not just on weekends, but our entire life. All right, go ahead and share it, and thank you for tuning in.